And welcome back to Group Therapy, a podcast brought to you by Livingston Parish News. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. I am joined here today by my two editors. I'm going to let them introduce themselves in just a second. But first, I want to thank everybody for their patience. My mother-in-law did, in fact, lose her battle with cancer this past week and passed away. So we took a break last week. I appreciate both of these gentlemen being patient as well. So here we are. We're back in the booth today. We're going to be covering everything Livingston Parish. So let's start off with the gentleman on my left. It'll be his right. Hit it.
Hey, this is Rob DeArmond. I'm the sports editor here with the Livingston Parish News.
And this is David Gray, lifestyle editor with the Livingston Parish News.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
And we're back. I know everybody needs a break from me from time to time, so I think they both appreciated that. But today we got a couple of things to talk about as we play a little bit of catch up. First and foremost, do want to remind folks, if you are living in the Denham Springs area, that election for that bond renewal will be this Saturday. Early voting ended last Saturday. So far, a pretty good turnout. People believing pretty positive, favorable response. There's a story up on our website right now, www.livingstonparishnews.com/breaking news. It'll also be in this Thursday's paper. We did have a chance to sit down with Mr. Cecil Harris from the school board yesterday. Of course, actually, that would be Tuesday for those of you listening to this on Thursday when it's going to run. But you can check that out on our Facebook page or on our website. So first and foremost, we are going to start with eeny, meeny, miny, mo. David, we're going to talk about COVID.
COVID, yes.
Everybody's favorite subject. So right now we've got kind of a couple of things working in tandem, I guess you can say. First and foremost, there is some issue with Johnson & Johnson. And we're also going to be talking about potentially a new proclamation coming up next week. So take it away, sir.
Yeah, well, last week that was kind of the big news. The federal government, they recommended that states stop or pause using the Johnson & Johnson vaccine due to reports of blood clots, tongue twister for some reason, that they reportedly found in 6 patients. And they're stressing that these are very rare blood clots, but they also want to keep, they want to be on the safe side. 6 cases out of about 7 million doses nationwide that have been administered, and none in Livingston or none in Louisiana. So I mean that's the good news, that it hasn't had any effect in Louisiana based on after about 85,000 doses that the state has used of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. But that's kind of what Dr. Joseph Canner, the state health officer, he kind of stressed, wanted to talk when they were at the opening of the new federal vaccine center in Baton Rouge last week. And Dr. Joe Canner, he kind of used that to, just drive home the point that if people were doubting the seriousness that, these state agencies are taking with vaccine safety, this is the proof. 6 cases out of 7 million doses. So that's kind of what he wanted to stress, that yes, it's a very rare, but they're also going to take that very seriously and not going to use it until they are given the green light to use it once again. So that's kind of that's the update with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which was the big news last week on the COVID front, at least.
And coming up this next Tuesday, I believe it is, we are expecting, we know there's going to be a new proclamation because the current one is running out.
Yeah.
We were asked this morning in a staff meeting, did David or I expect anything to change? And I'm going to let David answer that question.
Not really. That's the short answer. There's the cases still remain down. They remain very low, compared to where we were at, December and January. State's done a lot of good work since then. Hospitalizations have crept back up, though, in the last couple weeks. They dropped down to 292 on April 5th, and now, what are we, April 21st? Now they're back up to 344. Obviously this is before Wednesday's update. So, they have increased some, and percent positivity, even though it's still very low, it's also been, increasing the last couple weeks. So, we had that drop from, early January until about a couple weeks ago, early April, where the numbers were declining week after week. And now they're starting to creep back up, which is what the Governor Edwards and Department of Health have been, that's what happens whenever you stop dropping, it goes back up. So that's what they're trying to prevent happening again, to where, hospitals don't get overrun like they were, back in early January. We had over 2,000 COVID hospitalizations, not to mention all the other, people who are in hospitals for their other reasons. So, I mean, my gut feeling is it would stay pretty much the same. Maybe he adds another restriction, but I don't see him loosening restrictions this next when the next proclamation ends April 28th.
We're going to be talking a little bit about Springfest later on in the show, but there is going to be a vaccine clinic at Springfest, correct?
Yes.
Give us the bare bones information on that.
Springfest is running 9 to 4:30, and that vaccine clinic will be running during the same hours at Old City Hall. It's 115 Maddie Street. That's right off Range Avenue, corner of Maddie and Benton, and it's they picked that site because it's close enough to Springfest to where people can just walk up and get their vaccine, but it's also, separated enough to where if something happens, which, Jason Populus, the city's emergency manager, said is a very rare thing, that if something serious were to happen, some sort of serious reaction to the vaccine. But in case that does happen, they can back an ambulance up right there. They're separated enough to where, if something happens, they can take care of it. So that's, and it's free vaccines, the Moderna vaccine. So they'll also schedule your second shot there whenever you get the first one.
Very good. So still pushing for vaccines to be taken by the populace. A lot of it slowed a little bit. There was a big push, a big rush early,
especially now with the Johnson & Johnson going out. It's because that was a lot of people were wanting that one because it's the one shot. But now without that one, that's just it's causing a little hesitancy with the other one. So yeah, it's I mean, we've passed 1 million fully vaccinated people, so we're getting close to a quarter of the state's population fully vaccinated. But there's some areas, and Livingston Parish is included, that are just more hesitant to getting the vaccine. So just another push by leaders to change those figures.
Right. So anything else you'd like to bring up about COVID?
Oh, I think that's about it for this week. We'll see.
Is that enough?
We'll see how it changes next week. Hopefully we get. Hopefully there's not any worse news next week. And the CDC is supposed to be releasing some findings on the Johnson & Johnson this Friday. So, hopefully we get some good news that they've kind of pinpoint the what's causing these blood clots. So. Hopefully get some good news on that front, and in terms of Governor Edwards' proclamation next weekend.
So yeah, and a lot of people very much interested in that one shot kind of deal. So hopefully they get that figured out. Jumping over to Rob, we're in playoff season.
Playoffs, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean, God, tell me about it.
This is the crunch time, the spring season is always the most condensed.
Right.
Of all of them, and it just kind of flies by, and you go, wait, what just happened?
Right. And so I did kind of a quick curveball here, and pardon the pun. I know it is that time of year.
You can do it.
There was some more recent guidance released by the LHSAA that's going to allow larger crowds at Frash Park and Murray Park in Sulphur, correct?
I just kind of glanced at it. I don't know if from a media standpoint, I don't know how that affects us. I'll be honest, as long as I can get in and see what I need to see, that's what I'm worried about. It's going to be a little bit different from what I saw, and I know they were kind of worried about that. People are saying it's an outdoor event. You should be allowed to have all the people in there, but you got to abide by what they want to do. So that's what we're looking at.
So and if you're curious about what we're talking about, Murray Park and Frash Park and Sulphur are the two places where baseball and softball playoffs are held, the state tournaments,
right?
The state portion of the tournament, respectively. So first and foremost, let's talk about those who are pushing towards Frash Park, which is softball. Those games have already started. Of course, today is Wednesday. They started on Tuesday. More to come today.
Actually started on Monday.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah,
okay.
The brackets came out Friday. They went into playoff mode on Monday. Started playing. All 9 teams from the parish made it. We've got 6 left, and we've got. I'm going to run through West Ouachita at Walker at 5:30, Live Oak at Sam Houston at 5:30, Iowa at Albany at 6 o'clock, Doyle at South Plaquemine at 5, French Settlement at Lakeside at 5, and Elizabeth at Holden at 4:30. That'll be Holden's first playoff game. They're the number 2 seed, and they got a bye in that Class B bracket. Doyle's a number 2 seed. Normally they'd be at home, but there was an upset on the other side of the bracket, so they're having to travel.
Sure. So, all that very, very interesting, and just to add a little flavor to the show, my mother-in-law was from Elizabeth, actually.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
So, multi-sport athlete over there. So, God rest her. So, what do did most of those teams who were still in it, you said there were a lot of good games, a lot of close games in that first round. Most of these teams moving forward took care of business, though.
Yes. And you actually had Live Oak actually played Zachary in the first round. So
wow.
you get a district matchup right off the bat, and I want to say it was a 10-run ball game, if I remember correct.
14-4.
14-4, if I remember correctly.
Check out the photos.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Mr. David Gray over here was out there with the camera.
Look at that.
We'll have Elizabeth and Holden photos later. I guess it'll be yesterday.
That'll be for
whenever this runs.
This will be for Wednesday. Yeah, David's going to head out to Holden and get some photos out there.
Well, very cool. So any games to for fans to particularly put an asterisk next to be mindful of?
I mean, you got to look at Doyle, you got to look at Holden, and this is not taken away from anybody. And Walker has just been playing just some phenomenal all season long. They just been phenomenal. Not taking anything away from anybody else, but those are to me the teams you really look at. And of course you've always got to be mindful of it's playoffs, man. Anything can happen. So and as long as you're there, you can always keep going. So that's why you say those are the ones we look at. But everybody's got a chance right now because you're in it. French Settlement's also been playing some solid ball too. So
yeah, if you followed French Settlement, it looks like they're kind of coming together right when they need to.
Ran a really young team too. They got some 7th and 8th graders playing out there. So
good look for the future.
Really, I mean, I saw them against Doyle a couple weeks ago when I think I bailed out of here real quick to go cover that, and that wound up a 3-2 ball game. I don't know what it is about. I don't know what it is about when French Settlement goes over to play Doyle, but 2 years ago, they went to extra innings. Doyle wound up winning, but I asked Blake West. I said, "What is it?" And Amanda DeSalle said the same thing. She goes, every time we play, we know we're going to get a good game out of them. So.
Right. So a lot of kind of a rivalry there, not too far away from each other.
Don't have to go very far, man.
It's 15-minute drive.
Yeah.
Well,
a little bit more,
20,
probably
20
a bit
if
more.
you follow the speed limit.
Depends on what you're doing.
So let's jump over to the other side. Baseball brackets are coming out this week.
They'll wrap up the regular season to end this week, and the bracket should be coming out beginning of next week. So we'll see where everybody is. But I just woke up this morning and started looking at last night's games, and it was you're just kind of looking at them like, I don't know which one to make the lead here because there were so many great games. I just want to run through. Walker Zachary goes 8 innings. Walker scores 6 in the bottom of the 8th to win 8-7 over Zachary. And that's after Zachary scored 5 in the top of the 8th to take the lead. So the way you look at it is it's playoff time, crunch time, and these teams last night, it looks like they played like it. We're starting to tune up, trying to get where we need to go. Live Oak beats Central 8-3. Live Oak just keeps chugging along. They're undefeated right now in district play. And Walker and Live Oak have been in the top 10 in the Class 5A power rankings all season long. So just expect them to be up there when those brackets come out next week. Albany Laranja, Luke Purvis had a 2-run double with 2 out in the top of the 7th. And Justin Coates throws a 2-hitter, had 9 strikeouts in that. And then Laranja loaded the bases in the bottom of the 7th. And they got out of the jam without
worked out of it.
Got it. They got an out at home plate on a fielder's choice, and then got 2 straight flyouts to end the game. So big win for them. And like I said, you keep going. Then I get down here to Doyle and North Lake Christian. Cade Lyons hits a grand slam with 2 out in the bottom of the 6th. Andrew Uritich, who just changed his commitment to he had signed earlier, but he is now he's kind of withdrawn that. He is now committed to Southeastern Louisiana.
Okay.
That happened over the weekend. But he threw a 4-hitter, had 13 strikeouts, 4-1 in that one. So that was all last night, folks. And I wasn't even at that. I went to St. Thomas in Springfield, which was a 9-5 ball game. Score doesn't look like maybe as dramatic as these, but again, that was a great game.
Well, STA put up a 5-run sixth.
5-run fifth.
Fifth.
So they got a 3-run home run in that inning. And
that
like
kind of blew it open.
Well, and the way you looked at it too was, and talking to Coach Blanchard after that game, it's Springfield gave up 3 runs in the first inning without giving up a hit. It's one of those deals.
Can't
So
do
it's
that.
and that's what I told him. I was like, I know what you're going to tell me, but I'm going to tell you too. You can't do that and against good teams. But I mean, he's looking at it as something that's going to maybe help them down the road. And he said they got to get back to playing kind of error-free baseball because that's something early in the season that you didn't see from Springfield's teams.
Right. So, and of course, we will be expecting some state track coming up here pretty soon, right?
Yeah, actually, we got some district meets, I think, happening this week, and then you'll go on to regionals, and usually that state track meet, I don't know the exact date, but that's normally the first week of May. So it'll be interesting there because it didn't happen last year.
Yeah,
so,
right.
a lot of stuff didn't happen last year, so it's kind of getting your feet back under you and, the big part is you're getting to this point in the season,
Which you didn't even experience last
which
year.
didn't happen last year. So
Right. Jumping back over to Mr. Gray, we have kind of an interesting situation. Maybe to steal a sports expression, the beginning of a rivalry. We have Springfest, which of course Spring and Fall Fest canceled in 2020, but now Walker is having their very own Spring Festival. That will be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So describe the rivalry to us.
Yeah, I don't think there's much of a rivalry, but it's Walker. They've just added a new position to the city, community outreach coordinator. And Sandy McGrew, she worked at PARDS for many years. People have seen her group called the Yayas. They're like a dancing group that goes and that visits nursing homes and other sort of assisted living facilities, dancing with the seniors, that sort of thing. Well, she recently moved over to Walker and now is trying to get more stuff going in the community. And one thing that she said the mayor Jimmy Watson really wanted to do is just have these events that bring people together, especially now, after everyone's been at home for a year. And now that, restrictions have been loosened to a point to where you can have larger gatherings. So Walker is having their first Spring Fest. They're calling it Spring Fest. It's more of a fair, honestly. It's going to be at Sidney Hutchinson Park, April 23rd through 25th. They're going to have live music, food trucks, farmer's market, a car show, fair rides. There'll be a Ferris wheel. There'll be around, a dozen or so other rides. They have games, basically anything that you would find at a fair. And, admission is free and the music is free. Of course, you're gonna have to pay if you want to ride rides and play the games and eat, that sort of thing. But just a way to bring the community together after what's been a rough year. And for Walker, this is the first. They have their 4th of July celebration every year. They have a couple other things, Christmas parade, that sort of thing. But they don't have a fair or a large festival like this. So, I mean, we'll see how large it is, after this first weekend, but this is them just trying to add more to the city and also, kind of highlight Sidney Hutchinson Park, which, has a lot of amenities there. I mean, you have the walking trail, fishing ponds, an all-inclusive playground. I mean, there's a lot there. So this is just going to bring more, they're hoping to bring people from outside of Livingston Parish to this.
Going back to Denham is having their Spring Fest, already mentioned before.
Yep.
Spring and Fall Fest last year's canceled. What's kind of what's the atmosphere there? What's the feeling?
Well, right now it's just the weather. that's the only feeling right now. National Weather Service. I looked a little while ago, and it was 40% chance for rain in Saturday morning. So in Louisiana that could change on a dime, so not really all doom, but that's really it. And the feeling is if the weather holds up, it should be a pretty big draw, just like the Denham Fair was a couple weeks ago, where that was the biggest draw they've ever had. I mean, there was around 20,000 people that went to the fair over the 3 days. I mean, Springfest looks to be, if the weather holds up, it might be one of the biggest they've had, because people are just ready to get out. I mean, I was talking with our secretary here at the office earlier. She said she's going out there rain or shine, she's going to have her umbrella because she just wants to go shopping. She wants to go walking through the antique village and, visiting all the vendors. And that's something that people have been missing over the last, 13 months now. So, I mean, if the weather holds up, it should be a big draw. And even if it doesn't hold up for a little bit, it might still be a big draw just because people are eager to get out.
So that will be coming up this Saturday. Of course, another fair just down the road in Walker. So plenty for people to do this
And
weekend.
they shouldn't really coincide either. That people were wondering why they're having the same weekend fair. That's more, even though the fair is running on Saturday from 12 to 10, Spring Fest is from 9 until 4:30. And, most people are going to go to the fair in the afternoon anyway, afternoon, evening, night sort of thing. So they shouldn't really coincide. You could be able to do both if you wanted to, honestly.
So, and if you are really itching to get out, you can go do both. That is an option.
Yes.
Here's the plus part for me. When you say 40%, and that's good compared to what we had last week.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's on the up, man.
Yeah.
I didn't cover a game last week, and I don't remember that the last time that happened, just because the weather was as great as it was last week.
Yes, it was great. we all say
I say
air
that
quotes,
yes,
and
air quotes,
dripping
and
with every bit of facetious.
very facetious.
So, one last thing, Mr. Gray, there was a story about some bowls. Very interested to hear about that.
Oh, yes. Mr. Pat Savick. He's a retired politician in Denham Springs. Has lived in the city his whole life. Graduated with the class of 48, I believe, sometime in the 40s. So yes, he has been here a long time, and he kind of started. He's always been fascinated with woodwork. So in the 1990s, he's really got into it, and just would build all kinds of stuff for himself, his family members, and then other people across the parish once word kind of got out about his hidden skills. So at the start of 2021, he just started he wanted to start basically giving away as much as he could make. So over 10 weeks he gave away, I had it written down, 118 bowls, 60 something spatulas, salad bowls, cutting boards, a boat paddle, a random boat paddle in there. But he gave away over 200 pieces. And when I say give away, he just would not accept payment at all. People would come over, talk with him for a few minutes. And it was, just an interesting story on a man who just really wanted to do something, just to brighten people's day. And that's the sort of one thing that he told me is that he, that's his, back in the day, he said there was one time he made and sold some rocking chairs, but he stopped that instantly because he said he didn't get the same joy out of, selling it. He got more joy out of, just seeing people's faces when he would give them these bowls. And I got a free spatula out of it, so I did pretty good on that end.
Got to walk away with a piece of memorabilia.
Yeah, there we go. And each one of them has his name on the back of it or somewhere on it, and when he made it. So I mean, I guess, and he has some pieces that are, one piece is in a museum in China, another is in a museum in Germany. So I mean, his stuff is literally all over the world, all over the country, many states. And like I said, it's in, he's given spatulas earlier. I think last year he gave spatulas to the sheriff, the assessor, clerk of court, parish council members. Scooter Keene was there last weekend getting his spatula. So just, his stuff is really made it, outside the parish.
Right. So a very popular, very interesting story. If you want to go check it out, it is at www.livingstonparishnews.com and in this Thursday's paper.
Yes.
And in this Thursday's paper. So there you have it. So I want to wrap up, folks. Please remember there's plenty to do this weekend. Also going to be some sports this week since we are at least expecting sun for most of the week.
Yes, that's correct.
Do want to remind folks that if you live inside the Denham Springs School District, which stretches from just north of the fast food Four Corners south of Watson all the way down to almost to Port Vincent, please remember there is a measure on the ballot. Election day is this Saturday. Polls are open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can check the Secretary of State's website to see where your polling location is by putting in your address. One last time, I want to thank these two gentlemen for joining me. I want to have them introduce themselves one more time before we leave. Going to start this time with the man on my right.
It's David Gray, lifestyle editor with the Livingston Parish News.
Hey, this is Rob D. Armand, sports editor here with the Livingston Parish News.
And my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys out there joining us and listening in. We are slowly but steadily moving towards putting this on video, which I'm sure these two guys are just so excited about.
I'll make sure and shave.
Probably a good idea. And please remember, we are on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays at $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We do hope you guys have a great day. Please try to enjoy the weekend, and we will see you next time.